KREM 2 News begins now.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Tim Pham. This is your KREM 2 News Week in Review. Join us as we take a closer look at some of the biggest stories in the Inland Northwest this past week.
The reason we might not get FEMA funding for the fires is because of the type of help FEMA gives. One is for public assistance and the other is individual assistance. But the difference between them is what makes the difference.
It only took seconds for the Oregon Road and Gray fires to burn down homes, but getting them fixed will take longer than that. Governor Jay Inslee already set aside $1.25 million in emergency funds, which will go towards asbestos testing. But getting help from FEMA remains a question mark. According to Stacy McLean with Washington Emergency Management, who spoke to Spokane County commissioners on Tuesday, the Spokane County fires don't meet the state threshold to get public assistance funding from FEMA, which is about $13 million.
Fortunately and unfortunately, there's not enough damage to meet our state threshold.
According to Medical Lake Mayor Terry Cooper, that's not surprising since the fires mostly left public infrastructure untouched.
City Hall standing, schools standing, didn't lose one business, library standing, all the churches are standing. So we're positioned well to help. But the devastation came to personal, individual properties.
The next option to look at to get FEMA funding is individual assistance. But McLean says that depends on how many homes don't have insurance. As of Tuesday's meeting with commissioners, about 40 homes were found to not have insurance. But there are about 200 homes they don't have insurance data on.
The numbers that we have right now, if we were to submit today with only 40 homes, we would not get approved.
But according to Mayor Cooper, she says the thought process to turn to FEMA first needs to change.
But when we go to big government first, it takes the longest. The process is complicated. It's not straightforward.
Right now, local officials have until October 21st to submit the individual disaster declaration.
Now, county commissioners also found out on Tuesday that an application's been made to the Department of Commerce to try to get $2.5 million through the Rapid Response Program, specifically for debris management. In the studio, Cody Proctor, KREM 2 News.
With more than 10,000 acres burned here in and around Medical Lake, there's still plenty of work to be done in rebuilding homes and preserving what's left of the forest.
Dozens of trees with spray-painted X's line the streets of Medical Lake. The Gray Fire 1 month ago not only devastated homes, but also the surrounding environment. Avista crews have cut down more than 5,000 trees in the last 4 weeks. Avista says firefighters, landowners, and private contractors may have removed even more. The Washington Department of Natural Resources says trees are less likely to survive if less than 1/3 of their canopies are green. Natural Resources Manager Steve Harris says most of the trees in Medical Lake didn't survive the fire.
We're seeing a lot of mortality and not a lot of green canopy, frankly, out there.
Harris says it may take at least a century to get back to a fully developed forest.
Those ponderosa forests out there were, 100+ years old. And so it'll take 100+ years more than likely to have trees of that size growing again on these properties. So not in our lifetime will we see this forest be the same.
Still, there's hope for small growth over the next few years.
We can see future forests and seedlings that are growing within 3 to 5 years. We'll see baby trees out there growing, and that's the next generation.
Harris says treating trees quickly is important to overall survivability and regrowth. He says Medical Lake homeowners have spent the last month salvage logging to retain valuable parts of their trees before they get infested. Based on the level of destruction, he says many in Medical Lake will likely need to replant and start again.
Right now, WSDOT has a state emergency contract that allows them to repair guardrails and fencing. They're also working on an additional contract that will allow them to clear debris. They're currently working with an arborist to help identify additional hazardous trees. From Medical Lake, Janelle Finch, KREM 2 News.
At least 12 extra sets of eyes in the sky are watching over Washington. Over the last 5 months, a dozen AI stations have been live to detect early signs of wildfires. The cameras are a part of a pilot program between the Washington Department of Natural Resources and Pano AI. Pano AI CEO Sonia Kastner says the technology can help deploy resources to a fire faster.
This visual intelligence is helping the Department of Natural Resources with their strategy they're pursuing of rapid initial attack.
Kastner says alerts from AI systems are sent to first responders like a notification from a Ring doorbell. From there, firefighters can tell where a fire is, its rate of spread, and potential threat to nearby structures. Kastner says each station has 2 6-megapixel cameras that can see up to 10 miles and rotate 360 degrees every minute.
And that's what creates not just the awareness that there is a fire, but creates the call to action that allows multiple agencies to coordinate together to define and implement that most effective response that will keep communities safe.
She says early detection can play a key role in limiting potential damage.
For the high-risk, fast-growing wildfires, the agencies can begin the aggressive response within minutes of the fire starting. And that's so critical in today's conditions where fuels are drier, temperatures are higher, humidity is lower, winds are faster. All of these conditions are making fires spread faster, and so every minute matters.
4 Pano AI stations are live in eastern Washington. DNR put technology in areas of state-owned land with high fire danger. The current contract provides $1 million in funding for a total of 21 stations to be installed by the 2024 fire season. Commissioner of Public Lands Hillary Franz says DNR has tracked nearly 2,000 wildfires in Washington since April, but at least 95% of those fires were 10 acres or less. She says DNR can continue this progress with more cameras in the future if funding allows. In the studio, Janelle Finch, KREM 2 News.
It was supposed to be a normal morning drive for Josh LaCrosse.
I didn't know what was going on. For a minute, I thought maybe it was just some sort of escort. There was an emergency. The cop wasn't making any real moves.
LaCrosse was on Highway 261 when all of a sudden he saw Washington State Patrol cars chasing a WSDOT truck that had been stolen from the Washtenaw maintenance facility. Take a look at your screen now. This is video that LaCrosse took when he was following the pursuit. He said he saw 6 officers chasing the truck down.
I was directly behind them. We were going the speed limit, going 55 miles an hour. Followed them for quite a few miles.
He says he saw police throw out spike strips to slow down the truck, but it took until the 4th attempt to slow it down.
I watched the officers make several attempts to go around him, but then they stopped, maybe thinking the vehicle was too big to stop with their vehicles.
WSP says the truck began driving up Highway 261, and because of the seriousness of the crime, they decided to pursue it. The pursuit went for about half an hour before the truck was stopped on I-90 near Ritzville.
We're pleased that no one got hurt and the suspect was apprehended safely.
WSP Public Information Officer Greg Riddell says the pursuit went longer than he would have liked because of the size of the truck.
We don't want it to take any time they get something stopped, but sometimes they're beyond our control there.
Riddell says when the truck came to a stop, it caught fire. The suspect then surrendered to authorities without incident.
Traffic completely stopped. I saw smoke for a brief second and then flames shoot up into the air.
Police closed eastbound I-90 during the initial arrest, but one lane was open shortly after, and I-90 was fully open before noon. I spoke with the Adams County Sheriff's Office who arrested the suspect. They told me the suspect is charged with attempted robbery, armed robbery, and assault. They couldn't provide me any further information. In Washtenaw, Nathan Hyun, KREM 2 News.
The state of Idaho will not fund an unqualified or uncertified superintendent position, so a large chunk of Durst's $105,000 annual salary would likely have to come out of the district's general fund. Tonight, a lot of parents asking him how he justifies collecting a paycheck when the district is already strapped for cash.
Tonight's West Bonner School Board meeting was abruptly canceled when trustee Troy Reinbold didn't show up. Voters recalled 2 other board members last August, and there weren't enough present to conduct business.
People have sometimes legitimate reasons for not being in meetings, sometimes they don't, and I don't know.
It would have been the first board meeting since the Idaho Department of Education determined Brandon Durst is unqualified to be a certified superintendent. But Durst told us he still is the superintendent.
Yes.
Right now?
Yep.
Even though the state Board of Education, you're still...
They don't make the law. They aren't the law. They're not the law. That's what I'm saying. If they get an order from the court, that'd be a different matter, but they don't have one.
Durst stuck around and took questions from angry citizens who realized the district, not the state, will end up paying his 6-figure salary. He claims he brings added value to struggling West Bonner.
The salary you're paying me is a pittance to the state savings you're going to have in the long run. That's the argument that I would make.
Mr. Durst is taking credit for hiring 32 people when we had 37 leave because he got hired. That's not credit he should be given.
Ann Yount is a Priest River City Council member and hopes to fill one of the vacant school board positions.
We have children we need to think of. Our school district is a mess, and we need to get it repaired.
Durst still thinks he can fix the district's budget and academic issues, but many parents and teachers are not convinced.
I came here to do the right thing for the students in this district, and I'm going to continue to do that.
In Priest River, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
Abu Zubaydah, who has been held at Guantanamo since 2006 but never charged, says 2 psychologists tortured and experimented on him. Zubaydah was captured in March 2002, thought to be a high-level al-Qaeda member. By the next month, psychologists James Mitchell and John Jessen were involved in his interrogations, contracted by the CIA using a program they developed and sometimes personally administered. In a complaint filed in Spokane's federal court Monday, Zubaydah's attorneys say these enhanced interrogation techniques were experimental and ineffective. They included things like isolation, placing Zubaydah in a coffin-like box for extended periods, and waterboarding. The lawsuit claims neither Mitchell nor Jessen were qualified to design a proper interrogation program and had no knowledge of al-Qaeda. Their techniques were based on survival and resistance training they'd given at Fairchild Air Force Base. A 2014 Senate subcommittee found such techniques, used on many other Guantanamo detainees, were not effective at getting intelligence or cooperation. Jessen and Mitchell have been sued over their interrogation tactics before. A 2015 ACLU lawsuit, brought by 3 former detainees, settled for an undisclosed amount. Zubaydah accuses the 2 psychologists of torture, non-consensual experimentation, and war crimes. He claims he has lifelong mental and physical issues from the torture, including the loss of one of his eyes and partial amnesia. He's asking for a jury trial and compensation.
Safe parking is when people use parking lots as a place to sleep in their cars overnight. Mayor Nadine Woodward claims her mayoral opponent, Lisa Brown, views safe parking as a potential option for people experiencing homelessness in Spokane. But Brown says while she wants people to have a safe place to go while sleeping in their cars, she is not in favor of camping in parking lots. Wednesday afternoon, Mayor Nadine Woodward surrounded herself with supporters in a North Spokane parking lot. She says she wanted to bring her campaign press conference here to show what Lisa Brown wants to take and use for safe parking.
She wants people to be able to legally set up camp in dozens of parking lots like this one across our city and live in them.
Brown says the mayor's claims are false and attempts to scare voters.
What the mayor is trying to scare people by saying that somehow parking lots would be taken over by camping. And I think most people think of that as living in tents.
She said she wants to be able to potentially provide a space where people could connect with resources.
One way would be to come up with a location that would clearly be a nonprofit or a public sector location that was agreed to in advance and discussed with the community and the city council.
Woodward says the city needs more attainable housing and residential service programs for those in crisis.
We have emergency housing, we have transitional housing, but we do need to do a better job of getting more of that attainable housing built so that once they're in services and they're getting treatment and they're making progress in their lives, then they do have a permanent place to go to.
She says the city is discussing using money collected from taxes to accelerate building more accessible housing. According to Shelter Me Spokane, a city shelter tracking database, all adult shelters as of Wednesday have less than 25% of beds available. Hope House has a 32% availability, but is temporarily not accepting new guests. According to the city's Housing and Human Services Department, 140 people reported living in their vehicle, boat, or RV on the night of the 2023 point-in-time count. In Spokane, Janelle Finch, KREM 2 News.
Smith is in the Spokane County Jail. She's been there since August 15th, accused of setting fires near Spokane's Finch Arboretum. But now, through court records, we're learning she told investigators about even more fires she says she set right here in Spokane Valley. A Spokane woman who previously admitted to starting fires in Spokane's West Hills neighborhood now says those weren't the only blazes she started August 3rd. Vicki Smith is now charged with 8 counts of arson. 5 new second-degree charges were added after investigators say she pointed out where she'd set fires in Spokane Valley. An affidavit shows those admissions came after she was extradited back to Spokane from Tukwila August 15th. The documents say Smith told a Spokane detective she wrote graffiti threatening to burn Spokane down August 3rd. She said her message was about money spent on homelessness and no one being housed. Smith also admitted she lit 8 fires between West Hills and Spokane Valley's Dishman Hills natural area at the direction of God. Smith explained God told her to light the fires to get across her message that disabled people like her were unable to get housing. She called the fires retaliation to the people of Spokane who wouldn't help her. Smith said the fires in Dishman Hills were pre-planned. She told investigators the day before she used forest debris to build a location for each one, then used a paper towel and lighter to start the fires August 3rd. The fires near Finch Arboretum caused level 3 go now evacuations. No one was hurt and no homes burned. Smith now has a trial date set for November 13th. In Spokane Valley, Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Hayden Lake's mayor and city council members would not tell us why the chief was placed on administrative leave. However, we do know the chief recently pushed back against the mayor's order to crack down on speeders and minimize the amount of warnings he's allowed to give out. Chief Ron Pumphrey is Hayden Lake's only law enforcement officer, and he's been on the job for less than 3 months. Now, he's been placed on leave. According to our news partners at the Coeur d'Alene Press, Chief Pumphrey announced last Friday he was placed on leave August 27th, days after questioning an order from Hayden Lake Mayor Jim Ackerman. According to the press, the mayor asked the chief to implement a zero-tolerance policy for drivers caught going 7 over the speed limit, an automatic ticket for someone driving 32 in a 25-mile-per-hour zone. Pumphrey said he has ethical objections to the order, which he thinks is motivated by revenue. Pumphrey told the Coeur d'Alene Press the mayor's order is under legal review and that he's not discussing the details of his leave status based on his contract and advice from his attorney. According to his contract, Pumphrey can be fired for disqualifying misconduct with a 4-month severance package worth about $35,000. Kootenai County deputies will handle active emergencies in Hayden Lake, which they already do when the chief is off duty. And the chief did not attend tonight's council meeting where city leaders delayed a decision to purchase a body-worn camera for their police department of 1. Reporting in Hayden Lake tonight, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
You start thinking about it.
Miguel Tamburini hits the bullseye.
That's when you messed up.
Every time.
How much training does that take?
How much passion is that thing?
His passion helped him beat the odds. After Miguel moved to America, he became a professional axe thrower.
I was #1 in the world for the first time in the winter season 2020 and in the winter season 2021 again.
#1 in the world after just a few years' experience.
This is, what I do. This is my dream. This is what I live and breathe.
Axe throwing is his passion, and now his whole career as owner of Jumping Jackalope Axe Throwing.
Building this and building a business during the pandemic is just going against the statistics.
Miguel was born in Venezuela.
Coming from a third world country in a household with only one single mom and you in a poor neighborhood, it's been going against the statistics all of my life.
His passion has kept him going as a business owner.
I'm on that phone, on that computer since 8 a.m. in the morning until 3 or 4, almost every day.
Growing his business.
This is the community's favorite venue award. Yeah, that's my...
And winning awards.
Major accomplishment that I have.
Hitting the bullseye in business as well. In Spokane, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
Right now, WSU and OSU say they're still waiting for a preliminary injunction to be scheduled. That is the next step in their lawsuit against the Pac-12, but it's far from putting a pause on their planning for the future. While the future may be uncertain, WSU and OSU say they're keeping all their options open for the 2024 season. That includes possibly rebuilding the Pac-12. But first, WSU President Kirk Scholes says they need to know what's there to build on.
The situation we find ourselves in is exceedingly complex. The fiscal condition of the Pac-12 conference is far from clear.
That's complicating the planning process. Athletic Director Pat Chun says the Pac-12 has a 2-year grace period to maintain FBS status, though the two schools say they want a path forward sooner rather than later.
To draw a line in the sand on the absolute date, not yet. Certainly this fall, we do know, based on our modeling and our conversations with the content experts, that we can put schedules together.
WSU and OSU say they're not on pause while the legal battle plays out. They're in constant scenario planning and discussions with options like the Mountain West.
Well, I mean, I can tell you that we've had very constructive conversations with their commissioner. There's certainly mutual interest in on both our sides.
Scholes says he understands fans, students, and staff and athletes want answers, but he says he's confident in the next 30 days or so there will be more clarity on how to move forward.
Patience is where you need to be right now, even though I know there's that uncertainty.
Again, the next step in the legal action is that hearing on the lawsuit, but a court date for that has not yet been set. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Sandy would be so happy to see this. Sandy, we're still working on your dream.
This is with pace.
This has actually been a project that we've been working on for the last several years. We just started thinking about the East Central neighborhood. My dad grew up in the East Central neighborhood and wanting to do something special, an art project that could reflect pride of place, where young people and everyone in between could see themselves reflected in something beautiful. Our two artists are Carl Richardson and Ronaldo Gil Zambrano. It's just amazing to see how we can collaborate and just like bring a tiny little piece of like of the people that live here, beautify the space that we have where they live, and then kind of like celebrate their story because they're making this space an amazing place to live again. So when we started kind of concepting this project, I actually, Sandy was a huge help in kind of helping the idea evolve. It's just serendipitous that ultimately this is the place where the mural landed because she was such a help in making the project grow. My actual last conversation with her was talking about giving her a mock-up for the mural and how excited she was. She really saw Fifth Avenue and the center as, one of the missions as Black Wall Street. So you'll see the Black Wall Street sign above her. So there are certainly a lot of bits of Sandy in this community mural as well.
My name is Sue Whitehead Hernandez. I think it's a wonderful idea. It's about time that the East Central neighborhood got recognized. It's usually the last place or the last neighborhood to get developed. When you see people excited about the hard work that we've done, I think that this is just the beginning. The resilience, the beauty, the contributions that this community is making, not only to this neighborhood, but to Spokane at large. And we hope that we were able to reflect that in the mural. We all miss her, but she was a pillar. Like, she got the East Side recognized. And Sandy, we're gonna keep your dream alive.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus for a look at some of the biggest news stories of the past week. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look for them in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.